Alright, are international students Australian residents? Short answer, yes and no. Stay tuned. So, I still remember that this happened to me. I got my first job and I was very happy, very, very happy. My first job was in hospitality as a kitchen hand. And one of the first things that they asked me was to fill my financial details. Now, what does that consist of? It consisted of my BSB account number of my Australian bank account. It also consisted of my superannuation account. So at that time I didn't have any. So I asked them to fill it for me because every company has a superannuation organization linked to itself. So I was happy with going for their superannuation organization. And the other thing that they required me to fill was a tax file number form. As all of you know, that as soon as you come to Australia, make it a priority to apply for your tax file number. It takes up to 28 days. So आने में 28 दिन लगते हैं. तो जैसे ही आओ apply कर दो tax file number के लिए. One more important thing that I want to say is you don't need to have your tax file number to start applying for jobs. So you can start applying for jobs, and even if you get a job before getting your tax file number, it's completely okay, because the tax file number form that I'm talking about, it has 3 options. First is that you have your tax file number and you fill your tax file number in. Second is I haven't applied for my tax file number. Third is I have applied for my tax file number but I haven't gotten it till now. So you can take the third option and you'll be good to go. You'll still get your pay. Everything will still be the same. But as soon as you get your tax file number, just send it to them. Alright, so coming back to the topic. When I was filling up this tax file number form, one of the questions was that, are you an Australian resident for tax purposes? Obviously, the first thought that comes into mind is no. So I also take no. Now, I work for 2 weeks. I'm very eager to get my first payslip. And when I get my first payslip, it's almost 45% of it has gone into tax. So 45% tax में जा चुका था. सिर्फ मेरे पास 55% आया. I only got 55% of it. And I was very confused. So I called a friend of mine who had been in Adelaide in Australia for more than 2 years. I asked him if I should report the organization, because यहाँ पे है एक Fair Work Ombudsman करके, where if anything is happening to you which is illegal in the organization in terms of pay, in terms of environment, in terms of actions, you can report the organization to Fair Work Ombudsman. तो मेरा straight ये था कि I should report them, but before doing that, I called a friend of mine and he asked me, what have you ticked? Have you ticked yes or no for are you an Australian resident for tax purposes? And surprise, surprise, I had ticked no. Second example I'll give you of a friend. So a friend of mine and I, we get a job, we get the same job in the university, which we're very happy about. Office job thi, to we didn't have to work in hospitality anymore. She was working at McDonald's, I was working in hospitality. So both of us got this job, and obviously we're working the same hours, we're working at the same pay rate, we're working together. So obviously we'll get the same pay, right? We got our first pay slip, and she asked me, at 11 p.m. she asked me, like, how much did you receive? I said X amount, and she said that, oh, I got $300 less. I'm like, what is your pay rate? So she said X, and I was like, yes, that is my pay rate as well. So then I asked her. So this was her, she was working at McDonald's, but she just started working at McDonald's. So this was technically her first job. And she had also filled no in that question. So long story short, you are an Australian resident, but only for tax purposes. So when you're filling in your tax file number form, please, for God's sake, fill yes, because 90% of my friends have initially filled no, and they've gotten like 40-45% of their first payslip has gone into tax. So you are an Australian resident for tax purposes. So tick yes in your tax file number tax file number form that you give when you get your first job or any other jobs. Another thing that I'd like to add on to is, you're not an Australian resident right now. So that is why in the start I said yes and no. You're only an Australian resident for tax purposes. But to become a normal Australian resident, you'll have to finish your degree, you'll have to get a full-time job, your occupation has to be in the occupation list. So all of that is different. That is a different video. But to finish off this video, you are an Australian resident for tax purposes, and getting a tax file number and an Australian business number, which is an ABN, is free. Don't pay $50, don't pay $100. It's a very popular scam that international students get into. You have to pay $0 for TFN and ABN. Yeah. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to get more informative and entertaining videos. See ya.